Oh
I
dear.
don't know.
Hi y'all, welcome back to Threads from the Wheel. Sorry we're a day late. Had some issues at work, some reports that needed to get out last night. But we're back today. So episode 4, Daughter of the Night. Let's get into it. So we start off with Ishamael setting Lanfear free.
That was a dark scene. It was hard to tell where he was. I couldn't tell if it was a cave or
It
like a
looked like a
ruined
cave to me, but
temple.
yeah, you're right. It's
It was on my second watch, it looked more like a ruined temple, but
could have been
wasn't
not
100%
something
sure
from
on that.
books, so can't help you there.
But that was the scene I had told you about I had seen. It was a
Hmm.
pre-release, him
Yeah,
channeling
yeah, yeah. When I saw, it, I was like, oh, this is what she meant. Yeah.
and the bloody woman. And the minute I saw that, I knew I'm like, this has got something to do with that chick that was loved up on Rand.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Um. So apparently, I mean, if there's going to be a seal for each of the Forsaken, that means there are 13 seals. In the books, there were only 7. But assuming you're a Forsaken, why in the name of the Great Lord, I suppose, um, would you release the other Forsaken? That's competition. Why? Makes no sense at all.
Well, he had already blown his chance with Rand at the Eye of the World, or he thinks he's blown his chance. Maybe I don't know. I think getting Lanfear there was to try and get her to use her feminine wiles on
Yeah,
him.
convert him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, they all want to be the Oh
the
no, I'm
baddest,
blanking on the
the
that
baddest
there's
baddie.
but there's a specific name for it in the books, and I'm blanking on it. But yeah, baddest baddie. Um, who is basically the mouthpiece of the Great Lord, the Dark One.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, yeah. No, that's just competition. So Lanfear in particular does make some sense because of what you said. Yeah, yeah, she can seduce him maybe into the Dark One, but the others, the other 11, don't really have a reason for bringing them back. Um,
Well, after the massacre of the previous episode, he's going to need some more dark friends. All the people at the meeting.
yes. Yeah, there is no shortage of dark friends. Trust me, they're everywhere. Even Black Aja, there are more than anyone really wants to admit. Yeah, there's no shortage of dark friends. Trust me. Now, dark friends that Ishamael is willing to consort with might be another issue.
There is that.
Um, so then we have Maureen's little sis getting ready in the morning. And we saw her in the previous episode, and I saw her last name was Dalmadred. I was like, oh, okay, so this is probably one of her aunts or something. Because in the books, Nynaeve is about 40. I'm sorry, not Nynaeve.
90.
Moraine. Moraine is about 40. Oh
well,
boy,
they well
it's
they
starting
made
early.
they made Leandrin old enough to have a son who's dying of old age.
I don't remember if we find out in the books how old Leandrin is.
I'm just saying from a
Because that's one of the thou shalt not mention.
well, you never ask a woman how old she is. That's just rude as all get out.
And doubly so for Aes Sedai. You do not talk about age. Even when you know good and well, okay, I was a novice with this. No. Thou shalt not. Um, and Moraine is announced that she's here. And little sis is like, say what now?
Who? Uh, who's here?
Yeah. Run that by me one more time.
The wig she put on was astounding,
Yes.
and it did wonders to make her look younger. It's
Yes.
wild.
Um, and then we have Rand working on clearing the debris after the fire. Yeah.
At least he's willing to help clean up the mess he made.
Yeah. Well, and he says something to that effect. It's the least I can do, I believe is what he said.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh, I left a candle burning." No, you didn't.
And
No,
you know
you
good
didn't. I know you didn't.
you know good and darn well who this is and what happened.
Uh-huh.
You're just playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Nynaeve gets a visit from Egwene.
That
Um,
was so tough. I mean, she is just reeling from
well,
that last.
so first of all, that apartment is larger than any Aes Sedai quarters in the books. Just that place is huge. Maybe it looks that way because of the absence of much of any furniture, but that place is huge for an
Yeah.
accepted quarters. Accepted quarters in the books aren't much bigger than novice quarters. So
I thought it was neat that she stopped and grabbed her ring, put it on before.
it makes sense because she doesn't really want it. She doesn't. She's going through so much grief with everything that happened. Yeah, she doesn't want anything to do with it. She just knows that it's expected of her.
Yeah. No less. She doesn't want to create any more issues for herself by not having it on when she's supposed to.
Yeah,
And
you can see it in the hesitation when she reaches for it. I have to do this. I don't want to do it.
I have to put this silly thing on.
And all it does is remind her of what she's lost, as if she needed one. But
yeah. And poor Egwene just wants to make her friend feel better and goes and says the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Because everything that the novices are told is that it's your greatest fear. It's these horrible whatever. Every woman who's ever been through it. But horrible isn't the same for everyone. Like I said last time, in the first time Nynaeve walked through, she was being chased by one of the Forsaken. So yes, horrible. It wasn't real. Yeah, yes, perfect platitudes to hand someone who had just been through that. Not what she went through with the last one.
Yeah. And it would make sense that losing land and losing her family and friends would be her greatest fear.
Um, and I found it interesting that within the arches, she came out of the arches and was like, if being Aes Sedai means turning my back on everyone I've ever loved, I'm not doing it. Take your ring and put it where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
So yes, that was part of her fear, but then actually losing her loved ones was the quote unquote real test, I suppose. Yeah, it was interesting. So then we have Maxim and Ivan sword fighting with the kids, which is super cute.
Yes, I made sure I wrote down their names this time.
Me too. Me too. Because only one of them is mentioned. Well, they're both mentioned in the books, but one is past tense because we don't get much of Alana until much later in the series. And one of them has been killed, and she is, of course, beside herself. I'm not even sure if it's the same names as in the books. I will have to go back and look. So then Alana approaches Lan as he's stepped away for a moment, and asks him to go back to the tower with them. And she mentions that Nynaeve has gone through the arches and will be looking for a warder of her own pretty soon. And he says, I'm not looking to repeat my failures. I wanted to slap him.
That was hard.
Mm-hmm. So now we're getting some of the book one Lan that I wanted to smack the whole. No woman deserves a widow's black as her bride price. You least of all, that nonsense that he was spouting in book one.
Taciturn Lan is much better than morose Lan.
So then Moiraine goes to visit Logain, and that's an interesting conversation.
Hmm?
You're going to teach him everything you know about the power. We'll see if that's even an option after what happened up in the mountains. It would be an interesting turn on what happened in the books if Logain does manage to teach him, because in the books there were much more ships passing in the night than this. They didn't get to have any sort of meaningful conversation till way late in the series. So, and then we have Egwene and Elaine mopping the floor. Sorry, have either of them ever mopped a floor in their lives? I'm no Martha Stewart, but good God Almighty, even I know that's not how you do it.
No, Elaine really didn't seem like she knew what she was doing, but I would think Egwene
should
would
know
know,
better.
being the daughter of a
Yes,
tavern keeper.
yes, the daughter of an innkeeper would know. Floor is
Excuse
not
me.
a race. Oh, no, just no. Um, So then we have Nynaeve going and looking for Maxim and Ivan. And the poor young water in training flirting so hard. And I'm like, oh, you don't have a snowball chance, dude.
He was cute as all get out, but yes, he just didn't have a chance.
No, no, no. No.
I mean, he even tried you channeled in the arches. Oh my, you know.
Yeah, and I'm surprised the Ajas aren't all following you all around.
He was fanboying pretty hard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You've got time to choose. You don't choose red. Aww.
Red is dead.
Poor guy. Poor guy. Um, and in the middle of all this, Leandrin gets a letter from another red and goes to the keeper, Leona.
If she falls, so do you.
The
Talking
keeper
about
rules
the
the tower when the Amerlin is away, so I speak with her every time I open my mouth. And I actually did have to write down her name because much later on in the series, so we have the keeper Liana, but there's also I believe she's a yellow sister, Lelaine, who is a sitter in the hall. So she gets brought up a lot in Lelaine and Liana, and which name is I cannot keep them too straight for love or money. Yeah, my mom has issues with or did at least when she was first reading the books between Egwene and Elaine. And I was so slow reading them. I was like, oh, I've known Egwene for ages before I met, Elaine. So yeah, I got no problems. But Elaine and Liana, no, no, I'm helpless.
yeah.
Uh,
I
so
I know I'm going to screw up and call people the wrong name, and it's just gonna happen.
I probably will too, and not catch myself. So then we have Elias and Perrin walking through the woods, talking about the wolves.
Learning about being a wolf brother.
Yes. And Jordan himself said that, yes, there are wolf sisters, they just don't happen to be in the series. So, and we meet Hopper.
That was I liked the reveal of his name. That was very cool.
I saw someone online call him Sir Bounce a lot, I think it was. But in the books, Hopper is one of the first wolves he meets and is definitely his best friend among the wolves. So yeah, it was really cool to put a face with a name. But yeah, so we get Hopper, so yay. Then we have Maxim and Lan at the well. How much water do you need for bread?
Enough so it takes enough time so we can talk this thing out, my dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Moraine goes to speak with the gate guard, and he just spills everything. And I'm like, on the one hand, no Carianan in the books would have admitted to ever having seen Lan and Rand in their lives. But on the other, oh my god, there's like actually decent communication in the series. Yes. It's making things move so much faster because Moraine in the books is absolute. She could give Lan lessons in not saying Rudd.
Well, that's the whole thing about life, stories, all of this. If people actually talked about things and didn't make suppositions or assumptions, then it would be so much nicer because probably 95, 97% of the drama and
Mhm.
crap that happens could be avoided. But we don't do that because we're idiots.
The series is 14 books and a prequel. If people had just sat down and talked to each other, it might have been 4.
And a short story.
Well, that one did start off as a short story. The prequel, Legends 2, was a compilation of short stories from various sci-fi, horror, fantasy writers. I believe Stephen King was in that one.
Wouldn't shock me. That man has written more stuff than.
um, so Jordan wrote a short story about how Lan and Moraine met, and made it accessible to people who had not been reading Wheel of Time. And much like what happened in the last episode before that, when they were sitting around the fire talking about, okay, how'd y'all meet? Straight from the book. And then Jordan later developed it into a novella. I think it might have been long enough to be a novel. Not sure. Certainly much shorter than everything else in the series. So then we've got the next scene of Celine and Rand on a cliff, at where her supposed family went when she was a kid. And she says, long before that she came here with a man long before you. And I'm thinking, lady, it was him.
I liked what he said about from up here, the world looks like it still fits together.
That was nice. I can imagine it not being broken or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Mat and Min dicing in a tavern. And by this point in the books, his luck has kicked in. He has a hard time losing a dice game in the books. But there was not a flashback scene, but there was a mention of a dice game he was in before he left Emmonsfield with a peddler's guard, and he was in so much trouble when his dad found out how much he owed the guard.
Whoops.
Yeah. But once he left Emmonsfield, once he was a ta'veren, and losing a dice game from Mat Cauthon, actually, now that I think about it, he didn't really start dicing until sometime in book 2, after he was healed from the dagger. We didn't see him dice in book 1. So maybe that just hasn't kicked in yet, or they're just waiting for the right moment to reveal or whatever. But we did have Min plopping down a lot of coin. You know, they didn't drink that much. Oh, he will. He just needs some encouragement. And then asking about a room in the attic because she's going to meet someone. No idea who, just someone.
Someone's gonna show up. Send them up there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and we have Leandrin finding Nynaeve in the room with the arches. That was a scene for sure.
Yes, I don't know why Nynaeve is bothering to talk to her, but I can kind of understand.
As okay, I'm presuming as a mom that you are. I'm not. But having, at least in her experience, Nynaeve has lost a child.
Yes, yes, you're right.
Leandrin
right.
is the only individual in the tower that she is, to her knowledge at least, has ever had a child. So, yeah, why wouldn't that be the person you turn to? Who else are you going to turn to? That she just happens to show up.
Just
But
happens to be stalking.
yeah, probably. But out of anyone in the tower, if she had her pick, I can't imagine her choosing anyone else, because that's the only other mother,
Yeah,
biological mother, that she knows of.
yeah, you're right.
So,
I have no love for
oh
Leon.
no, me neither,
And I
but
trust
I
her
get
as
her logic.
I trust her as far as I can drop kick her.
Yeah, as far as I could throw her. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then she drops the bombshell. I'm going to tell you something now, but I want you to give me your word you won't do anything rash. Leandrin, you
Dun dun
know that
dun.
is catnip for Nynaeve.
Dun dun dun.
Right, right. And this whole, they found something odd. Shinarans far from home, traveling with an ogier and a blacksmith from the Two Rivers. That's really specific, especially given that would be from an eyes and ears of the Red Aja, secondhand, presumably, from something a Seanchan said. For one, Seanchan don't know Two Rivers from Adam, so why would a blacksmith from the Two Rivers mean anything at all to them, especially anything worth mentioning? I mean, maybe if the eyes and ears individual had heard of the Two Rivers, big question mark there, um, they would have said, "Oh, yeah, that's odd." But why would a Seanchan mention it? They don't know where the Two Rivers is. They don't know nothing about this land anymore. I, no, that's just too suspicious.
How do we know that the whole part about the blacksmith was even part of the missive she got? That could have been Leandrin just throwing that in for
Or
extra,
conjecture.
extra. Let's see
Yeah,
what how Nynaeve's gonna Nynaeve is
yeah,
gonna react.
yeah. Um, so then we have um poor Maxim trying to meditate with Ivan and Lan. He made it 10 minutes this time. I think we're wearing him down.
Yes, that was great.
Mm-hmm. Um, And then Ivan and Lan talk about what is the thing that you and your Aes Sedai are looking to accomplish. And Ivan says, the triumph of the light over the dark and desert aftermath. But the whole triumph of the light over the dark was Moiraine's argument to Lan that her fight was the same as his back when she was first trying to convince him to be her warder in the first place. Because Malkir, his homeland, was destroyed by the Blight when he was an infant. He was raised by soldiers who had carried him out of Malkir as it was collapsing. I think it was 12 that were assigned the task of get our kid the heck out of Dodge. I think 4 survived just getting out of Malkir. And so Rand was raised by these 4 soldiers with a whole idea of to avenge what cannot be saved. So here he is, 20-something. I'm gonna go off into the Blight and just suicide by the Blight, basically. And Moiraine managed to convince him to not, because I'm fighting the Dark One the same as you. You can do more good here finding the Dragon Reborn than just running off into the Blight and dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird twist. So then we have Alanna and Maxim finding the prophecy in Lan's Saddleback. So, that prophecy is in the books. When the Dark Friends attack Fal Dara, and Padan Fain escapes, it's written on the walls of the dungeon in blood. So I have the translation here. They did have, they had the first paragraph or so of it in the show, but I thought y'all might be interested. Daughter of the night, she walks again. The ancient war she yet fights. Her new lover she seeks. Who shall serve her and die, yet serve still? Who shall stand against her coming? The shining walls shall kneel. Blood feeds blood, blood calls blood. Blood is, and blood was, and blood shall ever be. The man who channels stands alone. He gives his friends for sacrifice. 2 roads before him, one to death beyond dying, one to life eternal. Which will he choose? Which will he choose? What hand shelters? What hand slays? Blood feeds blood, blood calls blood, blood is, and blood was, and blood shall ever be. Luke came to the mountains of doom. Isam waited in the high passes. The hunt is now begun, the shadow's hounds now course and kill. One did live and one did die, but both are. The time of change has come. Blood feeds blood, blood calls blood, blood is, and blood was, and blood shall ever be. The watchers wait on Tomon's head. The seed of the hammer burns the ancient tree. Death shall sow and summer burn before the great Lord comes. Death shall reap and bodies fail before the great Lord comes. Again the seed slays ancient wrong before the great Lord comes. Now the great Lord comes, now the great Lord comes. Blood feeds blood, blood calls blood, blood was, blood is, and blood shall ever be. Now the great Lord comes. So as they say it in the book, it might be dark prophecy, it might just be a taunt. But Luke is the brother of what was her name? When Queen Morgase, or before Queen Morgase became Queen of Andor, there was a daughter. Oh man, my brain is dead. Daughter heir. But she went AWOL, just disappeared in the middle of the night. Luke was her brother. Isam was Lan's cousin. Isam's mama tried to pull a coup d'etat to make Isam king, or the next king instead of Lan, when Isam and Lan were both infants. But it was that betrayal that led to the fall of Malkir in the first place. So this Luke Isam connection, one did live and one did die, but both are. That comes back again. Who knows if we'll ever see it in the show? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So then we have Moiraine actually speaking to her sister.
After Baby Sis forces a parlay.
God, yeah. It's been decades. And who knows how many. Like I said, in the book, she's only 40-something, but clearly not in the show.
Yeah, they've aged her up in the show. I loved how the sister told her that her eyes and ears in the city are now hers. And you will not mess up my plans. My son's going to marry into the royal family.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to know where Rand went, you will ask politely over tea. Such a Carian thing.
She's got guts. I'll give her that.
Mm-hmm. But her comment after Uncle ruined us is an allusion to I didn't write down his name. But the King of Carian. Okay, so back during the breaking of the world, there were a people called the Aiel, roaming the world, just trying to find a place to call home, basically. There was one group of people who allowed them water. Just, free for the taking. And those people developed into the nation of Carian. And when the Aiel puzzled that out, the Aiel have the last Choden tree, called the Tree of Life, Avendesora. And they gave a sapling of this Choden tree, Avendesora, to the Carian people. So here it is, hundreds of years later. King what's his face, I'm gonna make a throne like no other, made from a cutting of Avendesora. And he had his people cut down the tree. And the Aiel said, "You did what?" And came across the Dragon Wall. 4 of the 12 clans, in what this side of the Dragon Wall they call the Aiel War. the Aiel simply call it, well, it was simply an execution. 4 clans went across the wall to find one man and kill him.
In the scene where Moraine and her sister are talking, when
Mhm.
she mentions the uncle that had ruined the house, in between them is a tree of life. So that makes sense why that was there.
I
Not
missed
like a tree, but like a piece of art
I
with a tree
missed
of life
that.
on it. And I noticed it because they were framing it almost perfectly, standing
How did I
in
miss
front of each other. It was a brief
that?
second, but
Okay.
I pick
Okay.
up on weird things. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good at that. Frighteningly good, actually. Um, but yeah, that was how their uncle ruined them. And then she mentions having to beg for food from other houses. The tower does teach humility, but most of them forget it by the time they come Aes Sedai.
And hearing them talk about that back in season 1, before they were questioned by the White Cloaks, Moraine said, "I am a lady of a fallen house."
Yes,
So
this is why.
she wasn't lying.
No, no, she was not. Hmm. Um, so then we have Egwene and Elaine having a fireside chat. Um, why do you have the need to fix everything? And Nynaeve barges in, and yeah, you need to leave. This is my
My
room
room.
and my cup that I need to go clean. And Nynaeve says that as an accepted, she's allowed to leave the tower whenever. You're allowed to leave the tower. Nobody said anything about the city, woman. No, just no. Um, so then we have Egwene and Nynaeve sneaking down the passages, and Liandrin blasts them into a wall.
Before that, Elaine joins
Right.
them. Yes, I was following you.
Yes.
And then
Obvious.
Leandrin shows up and says, "You
Are a complication.
are a complication to Elaine." And then looks at Nynaeve and says, "And for this, I'm sorry." Then blasts them into the wall.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have
Um.
a good feeling about what's going to come of that.
Yeah. You should not. I will leave it at that. Um.
I've seen a preview scene, and I think I have a really good idea.
And then we have Min visited by Ishamaya. And we see her and her aunties. And in the book, she was raised by her aunties, but it was a very healthy relationship, not that abusive,
Forcing her to
whatever
see for
that
people.
was. Yeah, no, that's not Min from the books. Um, and I don't remember her ever wanting to be rid of her visions, not that badly, at least. um so yeah, she's like, I won't hurt Mat. Well, what's in Carian? And we know Rand is in Carian, and she saw Mat stab Rand. So
You might.
if Min sees it, it happens. um just maybe not in the circumstances you might presume. Or yeah, what she knows is a very small snippet with no context at all. And then we get Selene and Rand sleeping on the cliff face, and a Myrddraal attacks out of nowhere.
Why are they sleeping on the cliff face when there's a perfectly good
house right there? Well, he
Mhm.
just burned down her inn. I guess,
Maybe she's a little nervous about losing her cabin too. Yeah, I guess.
And Rand channels the Myrddraal into ashes. Ha ha.
I wasn't upset by that at all.
No.
Fates are creepy. Fates are creepy.
Yes. And Selene says, quote, "You need to give someone the chance to love all of you. They might not, but you have to give them the chance." Absolute best relationship advice from an evil brat I've ever heard.
Yes. Even crazy succubus witches can get it right sometimes.
Yeah. I'm like, but oh, you're evil. I want to hate you. Why are you saying good things? No.
The whole pretending to be freaked out by Rand channeling. And then you said you loved me.
That was are you saying that you love me?
Potato. It was ridiculous. And finally, they go inside to do what adult humans do.
Yeah.
And I'm a monster too. And the next thing you know, there's a hole in her chest.
Hang on. We had Maxim, Ivan, and Alana meeting up to discuss the prophecy. So then we have Selene and Rand going into the house, and then Moiraine stabs her. And yeah, in the books that would have killed her. Yeah, she is not that kind of immortal. She is no more immortal than Moiraine is. Although they don't call the Dark One Lord of the Grave for nothing. If one of his pets dies and he so chooses, he can take that soul and put it into another body. If he so chooses.
But from a practical standpoint in a TV show, wouldn't it just be easier to have them reanimate, zombie, whatever, than try and find another actor to play that role who would have to have, be different body, but the same mannerisms, be the same person as the previous one.
Yes, that I presume that is exactly why they made that change. Yeah,
that makes sense.
And
I knew the minute Moiraine stabbed her and cut her throat that she was coming back. Things like that always come back.
In the books, at least. We'll find out whether or not it's going to be in the show. Balefire is the only thing that the Dark One himself cannot fix.
What is Balefire?
Because Balefire is a weave of the one power that removes a soul from existence. And the stronger the Balefire, the further back in time that soul has been removed.
Hmm.
So if I blast you with a balefire that goes back 2 hours, this conversation never happened. I remember it because I was here, but no one else will. The recording won't exist. And anything that you impacted within the last 2 hours never happened. So yeah, there's one character who is in a boat crossing a river and gets blasted with balefire. The next thing they know, they're at the bottom of the river because it sunk before they knew they had been hit.
Whoops.
Yeah. Balefire is no joke. And back in the War of Power, the light and the dark both just decided, yeah, we're not touching that. That is no, just no. That's too much for no. It will unravel the world if we mess with that too much.
That would be like the unforgivable curses in Harry Potter.
Yeah. And in the last battle, it really does start unraveling the world. There are chasms like you might see, like you might think of in an earthquake, just cracks in the earth, but you look into them and there is this black abyss of nothingness because it's a break in the pattern itself. Um, yeah, it gets pretty scary.
Yeah.
So overall, what did you think of episode 4?
I liked it. I liked it that I was right.
Everyone likes when they're right.
It's not often, so I celebrate my victories when I can. I'm a mom, remember? I'm never right.
Yes. Aww.
But that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I could have done with less Lan and him being all mopey sad. I hate it, but I didn't. I didn't need to see that much of it. I loved seeing Alana's family and the children and her warders playing with the kids. That was sweet.
We really don't get backstory and families in the books. We get a little bit with Lan in the prequel, but that's it.
I do have to admit that I laughed out loud when Alana and her warders, Lan and Alana's family, are all sitting around the table. They're like, "It's been so long since you brought another guy home.
We thought you were slowing down in your old age.
Where does the third one go now?" I laughed both watches. I laughed at that line like a 12-year-old. Because in here, yeah, I am. It's okay.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite changes with the show. It is getting to see their home life. Because in the books, as far as I know, Maureen didn't have a sister. Alana's family was certainly never mentioned. Off the top of my head, the only family I remember being mentioned was way late in the books, and it was because Pavara Sedai's family had been murdered by Dark Friends. So we don't actually see her family. just we know that they were murdered by Dark Friends. So yeah, actually getting to see them in these characters I love so much interacting with their loved ones is a nice change.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool. And then at the end, with Rand getting mad at Moraine for her name is Celine.
You killed her. She
Her name
has
is
an inn in
Celine.
the foregate. She lied to you, and I can't.
You know I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was a little heartbreaking.
I knew the minute they show her get killed that she was waking back up. I knew she would not go away.
Mm-hmm.
Too evil. It's too evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it. I thought it was well done. I know it's not the books. I know the books, but I know it's not the books because no,
No adaptation ever is.
yeah, it can't be
Right.
because you can't live in the character's head like you can in a book.
That's the main thing, yes.
You can't recreate every minute scene exactly as it's written on the page.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times there's too many characters, so you have to put them into different character,
Yeah. I saw
combine them all.
an interview with an author one time years and years ago. And this guy has written novels and screenplays and graphic novels, and if it's a written word, he's done it and been published. um, but he said when you're converting a novel to a screenplay, you can only fit roughly 1 in 4 pages uh, from novel to screenplay. At least when you're doing a movie, I think is what he was referencing in particular. So we're gonna get a better ratio than that. I hope it feels like we're getting a better ratio with the series, but they're still really booking it.
Well, I mean, you never know how long that this is going to last and
um,
how many seasons they'll get renewed for, all of that
true,
fun stuff.
true. I believe Rafe said he has um mapped out 6 or 7, I believe, as far as doing the basic um just what's the word I'm looking for? When you're writing an essay, you do the not a draft.
Outline?
Thank you, thank you. Outline.
At least
It is
Rafe,
past my bedtime.
well past mine, trust me. At least Rafe has all of the books already.
Oh,
They're already written. It's
yes,
not. It's
yes.
not going to be.
We're not gonna have another Game of Thrones.
Thank you. It's
Yes.
Dumb and Dumber ruined it. Just that last season ought not exist.
Yeah. The ending was odd.
Is that a nice word for bovine scatology?
Well, I was thinking in particular about who ended up on the throne. That in particular was like, but say what
Brand the Broken because he has a good story.
now? Sorry, Jon Snow doesn't get it. Daenerys doesn't get it. Jamie doesn't get it. The little kid with the visions gets it. I,
Because he has a good story. What in the actual Heather word? No, that was an abomination. No. No.
Okay.
I think that's what happens when the writer goofs off and does other things and doesn't stay with his project, at least within earshot. In the beginning, Martin was doing episode parties and keeping up with Dan and Dave and helping them figure out things. And then something happened. Those two dimwits probably made him mad, which wouldn't be hard to do because they are that big of dimwits. And George just said, see ya, you're on your own. You're out of my material. Have fun with it.
Okay, well, that's it for us. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. And we will see y'all next Tuesday. Hopefully, because my work schedule should be back to normal by then. So yes, it will be Tuesday this time. I promise.
Glad you got those TPS reports done last night.
Alrighty. See y'all later. Bye.